Hey guys, it's April, also known as Pugged and Crafty, and today I am doing a little bit of meal prep with you. So we are in my kitchen, and the first thing that we are going to do is some enchilada stuffed sweet potatoes, and that is a recipe that I stole from somebody else. Her name is Whitney Simmons, and she actually got the recipe from somebody else. I'll be sure to link everything down below in the comment section. I'll put the recipe and then, like I said, the links from where I got the recipe from there. And then the other thing that I'm going to do is protein bars, and that comes from the book that I've been using for a lot of my recipes for meal planning. It's called The Hot Body Diet from Michelle Lewin. She's done bikini competitions, fitness competitions. This book has been really helpful for me specifically in regards of being able to plan my meals and my fitness routine, which changes constantly. So I figured I would kind of give you a little bit of insight into what I've been doing just since I started kind of utilizing this book since the beginning of September. I have went from 26% body fat to 14% body fat, I believe. Don't quote me, I can't remember. I'll put the statistics down below. So I'm really excited. I've gone from a size 10 pants or jeans, pants, what have you, to now a size 6, and I'm really excited. And I am continuing to work. I want to tone everything up, kind of like she's here. It's not necessarily about losing weight for me, it's about tone, trim, and healthy. And that's what I'm going to show you here today. So I do meal prep. My schedule is a really odd schedule, so I don't work a typical Monday to Friday 9 to 5. I work whatever day of the week I end up getting scheduled. It changes every single week. And then I work 2:30 to 11 pretty much every week. Coming up, I'll be working a couple of 12 p.m. to 9 p.m., which is fine for me. I don't ever work anything earlier than 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. And when I work the 2:30 to 11 shifts, sometimes I'm there until midnight. It just depends on how crazy busy we are at work. So today I'm filming on Tuesday, September 25th. I'm not sure exactly when this will go up for you guys to watch, but this is to prep my meals for the next couple of days as much as I can. So I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna start with the enchilada stuffed sweet potatoes. We'll do some peanut butter protein bars, peanut butter chocolate. Who doesn't love chocolate? I've got some tilapia that I'm gonna make. It'll be some coconut crusted, I guess, tilapia, as well as some sweet potato crusted tilapia. And then I've got some chicken recipe that I'm going to share with you, also from this book here. All of the recipes except for the enchilada stuffed sweet potatoes are going to come from this book today. So I'm really excited about that. Surprisingly, most of the recipes that I've pulled from here have been really, really tasty. I also have a recipe for a roasted vegetable medley. It's just sweet potatoes and broccoli, but it's absolutely delicious, and I do make it every single week. You would think that, sorry, that is my pug Ember. She's trying to attack my feet. That's why we don't wear socks in the house. She likes to attack our feet, and she chews our shoes, so we have to take them off as soon as we get home. Like I said, roasted sweet potato and broccoli recipe that's really good because you can only eat so much steamed broccoli, right? But when I roast it, it's fantastic. Alright, so I'm going to pause here. I'm going to wash my sweet potatoes, and I'm going to pierce them, and we're going to put them in the oven. I've already preheated it to 350 degrees, and we're going to let those bake for about an hour. You want to make sure the inside is nice and soft because we're going to scoop those out. So when I come back, we'll be ready to scoop out the middle, and then I'm going to get everything together so that we can start on those protein bars. Alright, you guys, so I have everything prepared next to make the peanut butter chocolate protein bars. Again, that is from this book here, The Hot Body Diet from Michelle Lewin. So I have all my ingredients already. It's going to be peanut butter, almond flour, chocolate whey protein. I am substituting that for vanilla whey protein. I like chocolate, but I'm not going to go overboard with it. And then instead of doing chocolate melted squares, I am substituting for chips. I'm not garnishing with peanuts, and then I have my nonstick spray. And this recipe actually calls for balls, and I am making bars. So the nice thing about these recipes is you'll find that as you kind of learn how you can, what ingredients are acceptable and what ingredients are not, and how to read a recipe, you can adapt it so that it fits your needs. And that's one of the really nice things about this book is before you get into the meat and potatoes of the recipes, she talks about meal prepping and meal planning and ingredients, which is really nice. And while she's the bodybuilder behind it all, she did create this book with a nutritionist and diet person who is a doctor. So these have all been rigorously tested, and they are, stop, Ember. When you read through them, they are based on, they'll tell you what the serving size is based on a 1,200 calorie plan, a 1,500 calorie plan, or an 1,800 calorie plan, which is really nice. And if you follow this strictly, it is a 28-day diet, and the reason it's 28 as opposed to 30 is because in weeks 3 and 4 you get one cheat meal. Not a cheat day, not a cheat week, a cheat meal. So I've had a couple of cheat meals. Like I said, I'm not following this to a T. I'm using the recipes as a guideline. So again, like I said, I'm not making the protein balls, I'm making protein bars. And I just noticed I'm a little bit far, so the camera's going to scoot, so I apologize now for that jiggle. I just want to bring you a little closer so you can see what I'm doing. Alright, there we go. Okay, so when I realized I grabbed the wrong scoop for the almond flour. There we go. I don't need a whole cup, just a half a cup. Okay, so the first ingredient is going to be, and I'm doubling this recipe because, again, these are for peanut butter balls, and I'm making the bars. So instead of doing 1/4 cup of peanut butter, I am doing 1/2 cup, which I've already measured out. And so I'm trying to watch the amount of sugar. And keep in mind, peanut butter is protein, but it is also fat. So when you're making your recipe, if you're counting your macros, you need to make sure that you're watching your fat as well. I monitor my macros by using MyFitnessPal, which I'll kind of show you how you can plug this recipe into MyFitnessPal. And you break down the serving size, and it'll tell you how many grams of protein, fat, and carbohydrates are in this recipe based on the serving sizes. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this into my stand mixer. I'm using my stand mixer to mix everything up. That way I don't have to do it by hand or by spatula. And the peanut butter that I am using, I have found, is actually pretty much the same price as any peanut butter that you buy, at the grocery store, compared to Jif or any other name brand, Smuckers, what have you. So I'm actually using Smuckers. This is Smuckers natural peanut butter, and it's creamy. There's 8 grams of protein per serving. And the serving size is 2 tablespoons, and it's 180 calories, and it's 16 grams of fat, and 8 grams of protein, like I said, 1 gram of sugar, and 5 grams of carbs per serving. And I do limit myself typically to only 1 or 2 tablespoons a day if I'm gonna have peanut butter in a day. So I've done really good. Alright, the next one is going to be 1/4 cup of almond flour, which means 1/2 cup for me, since the 1/2 cup measure is already dirty. I did pull out my 1/4 cup measuring. For almond flour, I found the Anthony's Premium Blanched Almond Flour on Amazon for a really good price, and you'll find I'm using their cocoa powder as well. It's gluten-free, it's natural, it's vegan, it's been batch tested and verified gluten-free, and it actually has a lot of really good reviews, and like I said, it's really economical, and the 2-pound bag was less than $20 if I'm not mistaken, so really great price. And it's literally just blanched almonds, and when you look up blanched almonds, that literally just means it's just been deshelled, so, and ground, because you need it into a flour. So as with anytime you're baking, when you're doing any kind of flour, you want to make sure that it's a level scoop. So 1, 2, so that we have our 1/2 cup, and I've already gotten some peanut butter on the package, but that's okay. Alright, let me get that off of there and seal it up. Alright, so then the next thing is going to be 1 scoop of chocolate whey, which means 2 scoops for us. And again, like I said, I am substituting because I don't want it to be super chocolatey, so I'm using vanilla, and this is vanilla milkshake flavor. I use BSN for all of my protein shakes. I use strawberry just because I prefer the strawberry flavor much more. If I do decide that I want a chocolate shake, I will use the vanilla, and I'll use a teaspoon of chocolate powder in the shake. And if I want a banana shake, then I can do the vanilla as well. If I want a chocolate banana shake, again, I can use the vanilla. So I use the Synthesis Edge, and this is an isolate whey protein, and I forgot there's something else about it that made me want to buy it, but this is also a really good whey protein for drinking right before bed as well, to help build lean muscle. So let me get it open. I had to exchange it. I had an open container that I used to purchase, or that I had purchased last week, and I used it to make some protein pumpkin bars, and it called for 3 scoops, and I did my 3 scoops, and I didn't think anything of it because, like I said, it was a brand new container. I got home, or once I made the protein bars, I just randomly looked at the container. It expired in April, so I had to go exchange it. It's like, oh, I used expired protein. I mean, it tasted fine. Alright, so then the next thing is 2 teaspoons in this case, because it calls for 1, is 2 teaspoons of cocoa powder. My teaspoon measure is dirty, so I have a half a teaspoon. And once again, like I said, I'm using the Anthony's organic cocoa powder. So since I'm using a half a teaspoon, I need 4 scoops. Once again, you want to make sure that they're nice level scoops. The pug is trying to help. She keeps jumping up on me. If you want to make it a little bit more chocolatey, since, like I said, I'm using the vanilla protein, you could add more. The cocoa powder is fine enough, but yet thick enough that it won't adjust the consistency. It won't mess with the consistency too much. If you were doing liquid, it would be a different story. You probably wouldn't want to veer off the recipe too much. Alright, and then the next thing is 4 chocolate squares melted, or 1.9 ounces. So I don't have chocolate squares that are sugar-free. So I did recently purchase some Lily's dark chocolate. These are stevia sweetened. They're 55% cocoa. They're vegan. They're non-GMO. And they actually taste really good. I'm not a big fan of stevia, but these are actually really good. If I wasn't careful, I could sit here and eat the entire thing. They are, let's see, 60 chips is a serving according to this, which is only 50 calories. It's 4.5 grams of fat, 9 grams of carbohydrates, 4 grams of fiber. It uses erythritol, and then it's 1 gram of protein. The ingredients are unsweetened chocolate, erythritol, inulin, stevia extract, organic soy lecithin, and vanilla. Like I said, it's really good. I'm trying to, again, I want to limit my sugar. Erythritol is a sugar alcohol, but it's a much better alternative than some of the other sugars out there. So, alright, so like I said, oh, the camera just shifted. Get down. Let me adjust you. My tripod isn't wanting to hold up. Normally I use this to, my camera is facing down at my desk like this. It's not up facing me, so. Alright, so let me put my chocolate in there. Like I said, I pre-melted it, so look at that deliciousness. I just want to eat it. And if you wanted to, because you're going to mix all of these ingredients together now and form a pretty thick dough that you'll then press into the pan. You can always melt some more chocolate to use as a drizzle over top of the bars, and I might actually do that and drizzle some chocolate, but I'm not sure. I might just do some chocolate chips on top because I like chocolate, since these are supposed to be chocolatey. There we go. It does call for some peanuts as a garnish. I don't have any peanuts You could even get creative if you want to chop up some walnuts or some almonds, since it is an almond flour base. It wouldn't be far-fetched to use some almonds. You know, again, get creative with it. Make it your recipe. Do what you want with it. You could even put some rolled oats in here if you wanted to. If you did do that, you'd probably want to cut back on your almond flour. I don't know if you can see me. Let me turn this a little bit more. There we go. You'd probably want to cut back on your almond flour because you don't want them to be too thick. Alright, so I am just going to lock this and just slowly churn it and let it mix everything together. I'm going to start off slow while the almond flour is kind of attaching to the peanut butter and chocolate, because I don't want it to go poof in a cloud of almond flour smoke and then I lose the consistency in the batter. And then as it starts to mix, I'll kind of speed it up, because right now all of the chocolate and peanut butter is sticking to the beater. There we go. Because you really want it to form a crumble, because then you're going to press it down into your pan, and then you're going to refrigerate it for about 2 hours, because you want it to become pretty firm, and then you can cut it into squares or bars or whatever you want your serving size to be. Just, you want to make sure that when you're doing your serving sizes that you're paying attention to, like I said, what your protein content is going to end up being, what your carbohydrate content is going to end up being, and what your fat content is going to be. The smaller you make your serving size, the less carbs, protein, and fat you're going to have. The bigger your serving size, the more protein, carbohydrates, and fat you're going to have in each. So it just depends. So I personally am having a really hard time meeting my goals each day. Not just in calories, but I'm having a hard time making sure that I reach my protein goals. I'm having a hard time making sure I reach my carbohydrate goals. The only thing I'm not having a hard time reaching is my fat goals, because I do like peanut butter, I like yogurt, but I have been using Faye's zero fat yogurt. It's actually really good. There's no sugar in it, because again, it's zero milk fat, so there's also zero sugar. It's really good. It is I take that back, I think there might be a little bit of sugar in it. I'll have to look, I can't remember. I do put frozen berries in there, and I will mix a little bit of honey into the yogurt, because I do need it a little bit sweet. But the nice thing about the zero Faye is it's tangy enough that it is a great sour cream substitute, which I'm actually going to use for the enchilada stuffed sweet potatoes. I'm making them chicken enchilada. The Faye yogurt will be a great sour cream substitute, so that I don't have to monitor how much sour cream I'm putting on there, especially because there's going to be cheese on it, because I want some cheese. I limit how much cheese I have, so we're going a little crazy with the cheese. Alright, so this is done mixing, so I am going to spray I pulled out an 8x8, because I'm going to be fairly moderate in my bars. I'm probably going to make a 16, so I'll do 4x4, so this will probably be 16 servings, and kind of see where it gets me with my macros. If I find that it's not getting me enough, then maybe I'll do 2x2. We'll see. I gotta do the math. So spray it pretty good, because like I said, you don't want them to stick, because there is some oil in the peanut butter, because peanuts naturally are oily. Alright, let me scrape this off a little bit. So as you can tell, everything mixed up really well, because hardly anything is sticking to the beater, which is what you want. But there is a little bit stuck at the bottom of the bowl, just a little bit of peanut butter, so I'm just going to spin this around a tiny bit. So this is what my batter looks like, so this is kind of what you're shooting for. You want it to be a nice crumb inside the bowl there. So I'm just going to dump this in. Ember, what are you eating? Scrape off my spatula. Alright, and then just... These are going to be pretty thin, but that's okay. Again, if you wanted to, you could make them into balls. I'm really glad I doubled this recipe. I kind of wish I had tripled it. That's alright. be filling, so I'm not too concerned about how thick or thin they are. And these are going to be my snack for the next couple of days. Meal planning the snacks are the hardest. The food is easy, the snacks are the hardest. I am trying to eat 5 to 6 times a day. Because I'm hungry that much. With my workout plan that I've been doing, and trying to make sure that I get the amount of calories that I need to sustain, I need to eat 5 or 6 times a day. I start my day off with yogurt or with oatmeal every single day. And then, like I said, my meals vary. My first snack of the day does typically end up being my protein shake after my workout. And then typically I have a banana with it. I'm going to wash my hands really quick. You'll probably hear the water running. I'm just going to step away because I do want to sprinkle some chips on top because it needs some pizzazz. Alright, I am back, so let me dry my hands here. And I'm just going to sprinkle and press a few chocolate chips all throughout. Probably should have measured, but I'll eyeball it. I've gotten pretty good at eyeballing. That probably looks like about 1/4 of a cup. We'll go with it. And then let me just seal this up. Great. Be careful where you put your food. This one isn't too bad, but one night I had some snow peas and I put the clip on, and my clips are always kept in this first drawer here with the utensils. And I went to grab a utensil out of there, and what did I find in the drawer? My snow peas. Yeah, I had shoved them in the drawer. Oops. Alright, so I am just pressing the chocolate chips in. I don't want to press too hard because I don't want them to go all the way down, but I do want them to stick so that once they harden, they don't fall out when I cut them and take them out of the pan. Try not to put the pan on top of the oven because the oven is on, the sweet potatoes are in. Alright, you guys, there you go. So there is the pan. So I'm going to pop these in the refrigerator for about 2 hours, and then we'll cut them. While I'm waiting, I'm going to plug the recipe into my Fitness Pal so that I can determine how many bars I'm going to make, if it's going to be 16 or if I'm going to do something less. I could maybe do 3 cuts this way and then possibly 1 cut this way. We'll see. I'll figure it out. So I'll see you in a few. Alright, you guys, I am back and we are moving on to the next recipe. So this is a recipe for some barbecue chicken breasts. I really like this recipe. It's another one I make all the time. Quick and easy, delicious, and it stays nice and tender. The really nice thing about this one is they recommend marinating for about 3 hours. You can marinate overnight. I've actually marinated for a full 24 hours before, and it is delicious. So once again, this recipe is coming from the book. I highly recommend you purchase it. I did get this copy from Barnes & Noble, and it was $18. I'm sure you can buy it on Amazon. Highly, highly recommend it. The dietitian is Dr. Samar Yorde. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Don't quote me on that. We're using some barbecue seasoning, paprika, chili powder, Himalayan sea salt, 2 whole chicken breasts. This says with skin and bone. I do not do skin and bone. A clove of garlic, and the zest and juice of 1 lemon. Super easy. So I just use some Target paprika, some basic Himalayan pink sea salt. The barbecue, it's really important that you get one that does not have any salt in it if you're trying to manage your salt intake like I am. And that's why if you read the book through, they highly recommend the Himalayan pink sea salt. We keep it on hand all the time. We also keep regular table salt, sea salt, and coarse ground sea salt, all that fun stuff. We have it all in the house. And some chili powder if you want a little extra kick. I do also keep some chipotle chili powder in the house as well, and I have used this. It's also really good. This will give you a little extra oomph if you like it super spicy. So also on the stove I am boiling the chicken, and I've got the beans going for my sweet potatoes, which are now out of the oven, so that I can make those chicken enchilada stuffed sweet potatoes later. So I've got my chicken in a bag, and I'm just using the bowl to hold it upright, and you're just going to go ahead and throw everything in. So I'm just going to do my lemon zest really quick. Yes, I've taken a slice out because I wanted some lemon in my water earlier. Whoops, and I just threw the whole thing in there. That's alright. So I just have a little, I forgot what these called. I just use this to zest lemon. I used to use it for garlic. I now have a garlic press, and I love my garlic press. I get all of my kitchen utensils from Ross. Why pay more, right? So, or TJ Maxx. You can go to Home Goods too and get a good price, but Ross and TJ Maxx by far have the best prices. If you don't like the tanginess of lemon, which goes really, really well with barbecue sauce, just so you know, or barbecue flavoring, you can use an orange. It'll just give it a little bit more of a sweeter note as opposed to a zingy note. So it just depends on how you like your barbecue flavoring, and you'll have extra juice too. Orange, there's a recipe in here for salmon, and orange zest is used for that as well as the zest of the orange. But like I said, it's interchangeable. You could use orange with the lemon instead of, or orange in place of the lemon for your chicken. It would be good. And vice versa, you could use lemon for your salmon. Alright, and then yes, I've got a juicer too, because I love my juicer. Alright, good squeeze. It keeps the seed out of everything. The seeds are down on the bottom, so just be really careful when you open it up, because this lemon had a ton of seeds. I ended up getting this lemon from Sprouts, and holy seeds, Batman. I've only been to Sprouts twice, maybe 3 times. I love their selection. They're super, super friendly, and their prices are so great. I couldn't believe it. Alright, so that is well and truly juiced, and juiced. I still ended up getting a seed in here. Pick that out. There we go. The pug is running around. I don't know what she's getting into. I probably don't want to know. Alright, so next we're going to do our spices. It's pretty much a teaspoon of everything except for the barbecue sauce, in which case it's a tablespoon. So I did wash my teaspoon this time. And again, you can just kind of eyeball this one. It is important, like I said, when you're putting your recipe into your food tracker, if you're doing food tracking. I am watching carefully what I put in. I want to be as accurate as I can. The nice thing is none of these have added salt, so I don't have to worry about that. Whew. And there's hardly any calories in these. At most, some of them might have 3 or 4 calories, so I'm not terribly concerned. What are you doing, baby? Hold on. Oh, and I haven't opened this paprika. But I have been through an entire bottle. Hold on, Puggy. She thinks Robert is home. Sorry. The neighbors just got home, and we have the windows open. And I won't be able to edit out her barking. Come on, puppy. Alright, some paprika. The recipe does call for smoked paprika. Actually, it just says paprika, but smoked would give it a really nice smoky flavor. Alright, and then this one I'm just going to eyeball. It calls for, again, everything is a teaspoon. I'm just kind of, actually it just says to taste. So I'm going to do about a teaspoon. It helps break down the chicken so that it keeps it nice and tender, and that's what the acid in the lemon juice does as well. Alright, last but not least, it's a clove of garlic. So I'm just going to kind of press down a little bit so I can get the skin off of it so that it will fit. Hopefully it will fit in my garlic press. Did I get it out? Maybe not. I'll have to dig it out. The last couple of bulbs have not really fit, and I've had to cut them in half to get them to fit in the garlic press. Watch out, Peggy. Here it is. again, I think I got this like TJ Maxx, $5 or something. Oh yeah, it'll fit. Alright, just press that down in there. If you can get it to fit. Mine just, there we go. Alright, I have to cut it. Gonna have to cut it. There we go. Beautiful. I love the smell of fresh garlic. You can use powdered garlic powder if you'd like. I prefer to use the fresh stuff. It just helps keep everything moist, and fresh is best, right? Alright, once again, give it a good crush. What you do, baby? And scrape it off. Beautiful. Alright, so that is all of the ingredients. Super, super easy. I'm going to seal up the bag here after I get all of this off. Nothing like smelling like garlic for the rest of the night. I'm not complaining. Alright, so you'll marinate this anywhere between 3 hours to overnight. Like I said, up to 24 hours if you want. And then bake it at 425. Right? I'm looking. This says to grill it. Chicken is typically, I think, 425. Google it. I can't remember. For about 30 minutes or so, depending. You know, you want to make sure that you've got it. Internal temperature is supposed to be about 170 degrees for chicken breast. So just make sure that you have it cooked all the way through. Once again, for my macros, I will be cutting these into 4-ounce portions. You guys didn't see that before, but I do have a food scale that I use to measure. Funny thing is I purchased this to weigh yarn because I'm a knitter, or used to be a knitter. I haven't knit in a long time. So this is what I use to measure my food. So I make sure that I get 4 ounces of protein with every meal when I do my food prep. And I have containers that I put everything in. So I'm just making sure that I get this thoroughly massaged so that I get the seasoning everywhere on the chicken, so that it's thoroughly marinated, rubbed, whatever you. This is more of a rub, not so much a marinade. You just want to make sure that everything is well coated. As it sits, it will juice up a little bit more, so just go back to it periodically and give it another good rub down. And you just want to kind of make sure that you keep all of the spices close to the chicken. Make sure you're good and sealed. Pop it in the refrigerator. And there we go. Alright, let me clean up a little bit and I'll be back at you with some tilapia. Alright you guys, I am back and we are going to get started on the tilapia. So we are going to make 2 kinds of tilapia. The first one is going to be a kind of coconut crusted tilapia, and the second one is going to be a sweet potato crusted tilapia. So I'm going to make 2 fillets of each, and we're going to bake them at 350 degrees in the oven. So I have the oven preheated and I've got my cookie sheet ready. I will spray it with some non-stick cooking spray once I'm ready to place them in the oven. I always use the olive oil spray just because it's lighter and better for you, but you can use whatever you want. Alright, so I have some, I'll grab my scissors. This is reduced fat shredded coconut. It is desiccated coconut, so it's just a really fine powder. I got this at Sprouts, which is a local to me. And then I've got organic whole wheat breadcrumbs also. So these will be the crust. And we are going to, whoops, I didn't get that open very well. I have my egg ready for the dredge. It's 1 egg and 1 egg white. Again, it's just 2 fillets, so I don't need a lot of ingredients. Alright, so in 1 container, I have my egg and egg white here, so I'm going to get these whipped up really well. And I pulled out a nice flat container. You guys might recognize these. These are from, what is that, like Noodles and Company. So, I've eaten there quite a few times. Love their stuff. Haven't eaten there recently since I'm, you know, eating clean and everything, but I love their steamed dumplings. And it's not that I can't eat this stuff, I just need to eat it in moderation for clean eating. The steamed dumplings are definitely the way to go. Not terrible for you, they do use pork, but that's okay. Alright, that's not too bad. I'll whisk it up a little bit more when I'm ready for it. Oops, and my fork just fell in it. Set it off to the side here, if I can get it to stay up. Okay, and then in the other container we're going to do, I'll put the sea salt and pepper will go on the actual fillets themselves, but I'll do that when I'm actually ready to start judging. Alright, so you can eyeball this any way you want. It's only 2 fillets, so I'm not going to need much. So I'm going to probably do, the recipes are weird because one part of it will call for a cup of one thing, but then an ounce of another. So again, I'm eyeballing it because we're not, since this is just going to be a breading, the most important thing is just to make sure you measure so that you know how much you're using when you go to put your recipe into your food tracker. That is the only part that's necessary. Following this recipe to a T is not necessary. So I'm just going to start out with 1/3 cup of both of them. I really want actually I'm going to use 1/3 cup of coconut and 1/4 cup of the breadcrumbs because I really want that coconut flavor to come through. Alright. If I need to adjust it and add more coconut, I will. And then we're going to do, I don't have all of the ingredients that the recipe calls for, but that's okay. So I pulled out my mustard, and I need a measuring spoon. All I have left is my 1/8 teaspoon that's clean, so let's do 1/4 teaspoon of mustard. And then I will go ahead and put some salt in here. We'll do about 1/4 teaspoon, and then I am going to use some more paprika because I love paprika, and I'm going to do 1/4 teaspoon of paprika again. There we go. Alright. And I would just use my measuring spoon here to mix it all up. Oops. Like I said, I really, as you can tell here, you can see a lot of the coconut in there, and that's what I want. I really want the coconut flavor to come through. Alright, so let me seal these up and get them out of the way. Alright, and then, I don't know why I sealed up I will need these again. And I'm going to move these off to the side because I want to get everything ready for the other 2 tilapia fillets. So all I need to do is grab my sweet potato out of the oven, or out of the microwave. I did a quick cook on that just because I wanted to have everything ready. I'm just going to grab a bowl really quick. And I'm going to cut this sweet potato in half. I'll go down this way and you'll see why later. Ooh, hot. Alright. Okay, and a spoon. I'm going to take the insides. Ooh, it's kind of brown. And just scoop them right into a bowl. Very warm. Very, very warm. Whew. Holy Moses. It's not cool off enough. Be careful when you're doing this, guys. Don't burn yourself. We'll use these extra boats in our stuffed sweet potatoes later. I've already made some of them, and you'll see why, because we're going to need these boats. Let me tell you what, it makes a lot. I'm going to have extra stuffing in the sweet potato too. Whew. I'm not even going to need all of this. I'm only going to use the one. Okay, let me just mash this up. Alright, and then you're going to want to season the sweet potato really well. I have found it can be bland if you don't season it well. So I'm going to get a good teaspoon of the Himalayan pink salt. And where's my pepper? Let me find my black pepper. And probably a good teaspoon of black pepper too. There we go. And get it well seasoned. If you like other spices, go ahead and throw those in there. I'm also going to do 1/8 of a teaspoon of the paprika. Like I said, I really enjoy the flavor of the paprika. That's one of the most important things when you're meal prepping, especially if you're making kind of the same protein all of the time, is having a lot of flavor. If you're making bland chicken all of the time, of course you're going to stop meal prepping. It's boring. Nobody wants to eat plain tilapia and plain chicken day in and day out until they reach their goals. And honestly, with meal prepping, you know, you really do want it to become a lifestyle, or at least the recipes, not necessarily the meal prepping, but the food in general. Once you stop with the healthy eating, you're just going to get right back to where you were, and then you're going to have to start the process all over again. Alright, so as you can see, I've got a nice little paste here of the sweet potato mash. Like I said, I've just added some some salt, pepper, and some paprika for some flavor, and then we're going to be doing a nice whole wheat breading on top to give it a nice crust. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and at this point I'm going to spray my pan because we're going to get it ready for our tilapia. This is probably one of the fastest meal prep options out there because everything cooks so quickly with tilapia. Usually it cooks probably in about 10 minutes or less because it is a very thin and it is a white fish. That's the downside to tilapia because it's a white fish. It doesn't have a lot of flavor, so you really need to make sure that whatever you do to it has a lot of flavor. I'm going to grab a paper towel. Alright. Just because these are going to be juicy. I'm going to need the scissors. Alright. Get my book out of the way here. You hear a lot of weird noises. I still have the windows open, and Robert is downstairs watching TV. So pat your fish dry. There you go. And then I'm going to do the sweet potato ones first since it's closest to me. And I'm going to lay that one there. And then just be careful when you're pulling them out of the package if you're doing the packaged. I've elected to buy frozen. It was cheaper. I got it on sale for a 4-pack for $5. Can't beat it. I read an interesting article about tilapia. They say it's actually one of the worst things to eat in regards of, you know, being fresh or whatever, because there is no wild tilapia. It's all farm raised. It is what it is, you guys. Sorry, the pug is barking. I'm gonna just put a little bit more salt and pepper on the fish. Again, flavor, flavor, flavor. Alright, and then just a nice, thin, you want it on there well, but at the same time, you want to make sure that the fish is going to cook. It's going to stick to you guys, so just kind of mash it on there the best you can. Get your fingers dirty. Get a nice thin coat. If it's on there too thick, your fish won't cook and you won't get a good crust. You just kind of pat it out like we did with the protein bars earlier, where you just gently pat it down. If you use the spoon, it's just going to stick to the spoon, as you saw. I'm just going to pat it down the fish. Get a nice good coating. It doesn't have to be perfect. Come on. use your best judgment as far as how much coverage you want. Like I said, just a nice good coating, kind of thin, so that your fish gets cooked. The other half of the sweet potato I'll just use for meal prep or something. I can eat it throughout the week. I can use it maybe for the coconut tilapia as a side. Rice is a good side, so that's one of the things we haven't really talked about. So, you know, when you're meal prepping, it's important to have a good protein source, but you also want to make sure you're, you know, having a complete meal. Otherwise, you're just going to get hungry again. So with your sides, you get a cup of vegetables is considered a side. So you can do your steamed broccoli, you can do roasted sweet potatoes, which actually that's what I used too many sweet potatoes. Well, I have a sweet potato, it's alright. We're good. You can do grilled zucchini, broiled zucchini, whatever appeals to you. If you like raw vegetables, even better, because then you know you're getting 100% of the nutrients. One of the things I did for a meal prep the other day, just because I hadn't been to the store and I needed to, is I made up a can of tuna, and when you're doing things like that, it's very important that you pay attention to the add-ins. So I did a tablespoon of the olive oil mayonnaise. It's the Kraft one. A tablespoon is the serving size, so watch your serving sizes. And then I did 2 tablespoons of dill pickle relish, because I love dill pickle relish. Alright, so that one is done. I'm going to wash my hands really quick. Alright, and then I just ate the tuna on cucumber rounds, and that was a meal for me, and it worked out. So, and it was a whole cucumber, so I got a whole serving of vegetables. Alright, so next we're going to do our breadcrumbs on top of that. So let me move that out of the way. So once again, we're going to measure, and I'm just going to use a 1/4 cup of breadcrumbs, and then I'm going to use that to just, I may not even use a 1/4 cup, honestly. It's probably going to be something more like an 1/8 cup, and I don't have, so I'll eyeball it. Alright, so that's about an 1/8 cup. So you're just going to sprinkle those on generously. Just like so. Don't worry about it if you get it on the pan, it's fine. If you want more, add more. If you want less, then do less. Again, this is your recipe, your food. Make it something that you want to eat, because if it's not something that you like or something that you're going to eat, you're not going to stick with it, and it's not going to be successful. The meal plan needs to fit you and your lifestyle and what you like to eat. Alright, so let me move that out of the way. So then that is one set of tilapia. So let me slide that up, and let's go ahead and slap the other ones through. So the next thing that we're going to do is our coconut tilapia, and this time we are going to dredge it. So it's going to go through the front, top and bottom. There we go. A little bit more mixed up. Oops. Alright, let's just make sure I dredge it in the right order. I do believe it's typically breadcrumbs, egg, breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs. And if you want to split this up, technically the recipe said breadcrumbs, egg, and then coconut, but I decided to do it a little bit different. Because, you know, I'm unique. So good. This is like double battered. We're making it extra crispy. I can smell the coconut. It smells amazing. All right, so there is one. Come on. I have to clean those scissors. All right, let's do it again. Come on, nice and clean. Perfect. All right, breadcrumb mixture. Egg mixture. Don't forget to flip it, get both sides. And then the final. The only thing I hate is I always end up taking some of the breadcrumbs off when I touch it to get out of the pan. Alright, there we go. Alright, once again, I'm going to wash my hands and then I'm going to check the cook time really quick. Okay, there we go. So these will cook nice and fast, which is a good thing, but let's see what the recipe says. I have all my little tabs here. I marked the recipes that I know I will like and that I will use. Alright, let's see. Bake until golden brown on all sides. Okay. Probably going to be something like 12 minutes, give or take. So, let me just turn these slightly so they'll cook a little better. There we go. Perfect. Alright, so I'm going to pop these in the oven. I am going to give it a little bit of space because we are going to throw another pan in here. Because we are going to get our chicken in the oven because the chicken that we marinated earlier is ready to go in the oven. Alright, so this is the chicken that we marinated earlier. As you can see, it has really juiced up. It is nice and red. It is beautiful. I have given it a rub a couple of times. This is about 2 pounds of chicken. I'm going to weigh it just to be sure. Probably 1.5 pounds. Let's see. I typically don't weigh it until I'm ready to cut it because that's when I portion everything. But I just kind of want to give it a ballpark. It's not going to be exact because it's in a bag. It says it's a lot heavier than it actually is. Yeah, I'll wait. Let's try to say it's like 110 pounds. Alright, so let me move a few things out of the way. Alright, so I just popped the sweet potato in the microwave real quick for an extra cook because it was not cooked enough. I don't need the extra filling, but I will set it aside and I will use it. I can do a sweet potato mash. I have a recipe actually to make sweet potato hash browns, so it'll be great for that. Or I can do a sweet potato pancake for breakfast one morning, which is fantastic. And I'll just make that recipe up as I go. I can throw some protein powder in there with some almond milk. I think would make a really good sweet potato pancake. So this is almost done, so let me go ahead and stop this. I just wanted to stop it, oh no, 6 minutes back on the timer so I don't forget to check on the tilapia. Okay, so when you're doing your sweet potato boats, once they're cooked thoroughly, you're going to cut them this way, lengthwise, so that you can make your boat. Be careful, like I said, they're going to be hot. And then you are going to scoop them out into scoop the filling out into a bowl. Oh yeah, this is still a little hard, but better. Alright. Very, very hot. So, and I was thinking about this as I sat down to dinner, because this is what I had for dinner tonight. This filling would make really nice tacos. You could put it in some corn tortillas, or wheat if you're okay with that. You could also just eat it as is. It would make a nice breakfast burrito. You could also, or you could even do it as a omelet, or a what are those things called, with all the egg in a fritita, is that what they're called? So, I don't know, get creative with it. If you like stuffed peppers, you could do it in a pepper. Or just eat it as is. It's a high protein food. A lot of good carbs in it. It's a complex carbohydrate, which means it's not going to turn to sugar very quickly. It's a steady carb. So it's low glycemic is what I was trying to come up with. Couldn't think of the words. There we go. Alright, so I've got my boats made here. Alright, and then you're just going to use a fork. It's much easier to do with a fork, and you're going to mash your sweet potato innards so that you got a nice, kind of like what we did with the sweet potato crusted tilapia. You're going to make a nice paste so that you can use it to mix all your ingredients. So this is how much you get from one sweet potato. Like I said, that's a lot of food. Alright, and then in it you're going to add, this is a fourth a cup of enchilada sauce. I needed my fourth a cup measure, so I just put it into a bigger measuring cup. And then half a cup of black beans, which I prepared. These are from a bag. You can buy canned, but watch your sodium levels. I would stay away from the seasoned. And then this is half a cup of corn. You can do sweetened or just plain yellow corn, whatever you prefer. This was frozen, like you steam stuff. So just add that in there. If you don't like corn, that's fine. Again, you make the recipe your own. And then last but not least, if you're just doing one sweet potato and you're mixing this in, you can do a half a cup of cheese of mozzarella. If you're doing 2 sweet potatoes, which would give you 4 boats, you can do a cup of cheese. So let me grab the cheese out of the refrigerator. Alright, so like I said, I already have a bunch mixed up, so I'm just doing half a cup of cheese. And then just a little bit to sprinkle on top. And then last but not least, this is 2 ounces of chicken. The whole entire thing, I used a pound of chicken. It was a whole bag of, this is finely shredded low moisture part skim organic mozzarella cheese. It's a 6-ounce package. I ended up using the whole bag for the entire recipe because like I said, I have a whole bunch here. So, and then I'm actually just going to dump all of this in here so that it's easier to mix up. I used this rubber spatula. It was just easier to mix everything together nicely. Whoops, making messes again. Sorry, I heard a noise. Alright, so once you have everything mixed together, you're just going to put these right back into your boats. And then, like I said, you can top it with a little bit more of the mozzarella. If you want to put some sour cream on there, you can. I didn't actually put anything on there, but I think I mentioned earlier using the Valle Zero plain yogurt. Tastes a lot like sour cream in my opinion, so that would be a great alternative. You can do avocado on top, whatever you like. If you want to throw some more salsa on there, I didn't really think it needed it, but that's a great option. Once again, these made a really great, these would make a really great filling for bell peppers if that's something that you like. I don't, so let me grab these out of the oven. I'm just going to take a look at the fish. Looks like we need a little bit more time to cook. I'm just going to rotate everything. So give me just a minute here. Alright, and we'll give it another 5 minutes. There we go. And then I've got my boats. And for now, I will put them on a plate while I'm waiting on the oven. I'm making a mess. I am still working out the kinks on how to put this one into, how to put this recipe into my Fitness Pal, just because it yields a lot more servings than the number of sweet potatoes, because really this all does not fit in the number of sweet potatoes that you use. So just a heads up, get creative. You're going to have a lot of meals with this, and you can actually freeze this and pull it back out later. So if you don't think you can eat this much in a week or 2 weeks, put it in the freezer, pull it out later. Alright, you guys, let me get to stuffing. So you're just going to fill your boats however you like. You know, if you want to do dollops, if you've got one of those fancy ice cream scoopers, I do, but I didn't need it. I'm just using a spoon. It works just fine. Fill it as full or as little as you want. Again, like I said, there's no science to it. If you want to feel a little bit more full after the meal, I would say fill them super full. Technically, the recipe is meant to eat 1, but you could certainly eat 2 because of how amazing they are. It is a very high protein food because of the chicken and the black beans in it. And it's a very good source of good carbs between the sweet potato and the corn, just so you're aware. The corn is more of a simple carbohydrate. It does convert to sugar very quickly, but the sweet potato, we keep it at a moderate pace, so don't be afraid. You've got your calcium in here, a lot of really great vitamins. Don't be afraid of the fat and the cheese. I will say I undercooked my beans a little bit. I undercooked some of the sweet potato a little bit, but I ate it. I did not complain. I ate every last bite. I did eat the entire sweet potato, including the skin of the boat. Like, I literally just sliced it up and ate the entire thing. If you want to pick it up and eat it, you can. Whatever process you want. If you just want to dig the filling out, you can do that too. Alright, let me stuff that in there pretty good. Okay, you guys, I am going to wash my hands and grab the lid to this. This is going to go in the refrigerator now that that is done. And the last thing that we are going to do is roast sweet potato and broccoli for a side dish for some of the chicken and the fish. Another really good side dish, if you don't feel like doing anything like this, is you can just do basic rice. White rice is fine. I also have another really good option if you don't want to have to go all out boiling rice. Minute makes this ready rice. Ready to serve gluten-free multigrain medley. It has brown rice, flaxseed, red quinoa, and chia seeds, and they're microwavable. You literally take one of these little cups. It's the serving size in here is actually a cup, and you put it in the microwave for 1 minute, and you have rice. I will warn you, it is a little dry, so you might want to put like a little bit of water in there as soon as you take it out of the microwave and mix it up. Or I actually put a little bit of, I think it was like a teaspoon of Italian dressing in there once, just to give it a little bit more moisture, and it was really, really, really good. Alright, let me wash my hands, I'll be right back. Alright, so the last recipe I'm not actually going to make, but I'm going to tell you about. And like I said, that is the roast sweet potato and broccoli. I'm going to make it tomorrow, but I just wanted to tell you a little bit about it, and then I'm just going to talk to you in general about meal planning. So let me grab my recipe out. It is a really, really easy recipe. Alright, so it's just called Perfectly Roasted Broccoli and Sweet Potatoes, and I got this recipe off of Instagram. Hold on just a minute, let me check my fish. Alright, so it is starting to smell done. So the fish looks white, which is what we want. And let me see if I have a, no, that doesn't do fish. So the easiest way to tell if your fish is done is you want to make sure that it is flaky. So I'm just going to take a look at it here. And it is, that one is. I just kind of look at it and see. I really want the breading to be a little bit more brown, however. Whoopsies, making messes. So once again, I'm going to just turn this around because I want to get a nice crust on the bread. Alright, and I'll just kind of keep an eye on it from here. Okay, so I got this off of Pinterest. So when it comes to meal planning, you don't have to go out and buy 600 different books to try to find recipes that work for you. Pinterest is a fantastic website, no joke. I scour and look through different ones, and when you start looking through recipes, they will start to pop up in your feed based on things that you've searched previously. So I have a bunch of junk under my fingernails. So when you're looking for searches, think about things that you really like. So one of the things that I looked for was a no-bake peanut butter protein bar, looking for recipes, or if you want no sugar added protein bars, or if you're looking for easy fish recipes or clean eating chicken recipes. Whatever kind of parameters that you want, or 20-minute or less meals, or meal prep ideas, or meal prepping for 4, whatever works for you. If you're meal prepping on a budget, I've seen plenty of posts about that. I am meal prepping on a budget, let me tell you. So there's things out there, if you're looking for meal prepping without salt, that's another thing that a lot of people are looking for, is trying to minimize their sodium levels. That's one thing that I focus on, is making sure that there's no salt, no sugar, and very limited salt. And what I do is I tend to substitute the Himalayan pink salt for salt. And then if necessary, if I have nothing against stevia. I've tried it, I don't like it, but then I just found out that monk fruit is another really good substitute for stevia, so I'm going to try that one next. So anyway, I want to go back to this recipe. Finding vegetables that don't utilize honey, and which I will use honey in moderation. I have nothing against honey. And syrup and things like that, trying to stay away from so much sugar has been really hard. So when I found this recipe, I was really, really excited. So you're just going to use 2 large sweet potatoes and 2 heads of broccoli. You're going to chop them all up, and then you're going to use 2 to 3 tablespoons of olive oil, and you're going to toss it all together. And then you're going to add in paprika, garlic powder, onion powder, cayenne pepper, dried oregano, dried thyme, sea salt, and black pepper. The measurements are up to you. I will link this recipe down below. It's kind of be up to your flavor profile, but it goes like this: 3/4 a teaspoon of smoked paprika, 1/2 a teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/4 teaspoon onion powder, 1/4 teaspoon cayenne powder, 1/4 teaspoon dried oregano, 1/4 teaspoon dried thyme, 1/2 teaspoon sea salt, and 1/4 teaspoon black pepper. adjust it. If you don't like one of those ingredients, omit it. I do. I mix it up all the time. I don't even measure anymore. I just toss it in there. I was like, yeah, that looks good. So then you're going to mix everything together. You're going to spread it out on a sheet pan that you've already, sprayed with some nonstick spray. And you're going to bake it for 425 degrees for about 30 minutes. It cooks a lot faster in my oven. Typically it's done in about 20 minutes, so definitely watch it closely because you don't want to overcook it. If you overcook it, then you've cooked all the nutrients out of it. So just watch it. When it starts to get a nice roasted look to it, they're done, because you still want them to be kind of crunchy. That's when you know you still have all of your nutrients. It's absolutely delicious. This says the serving size is 1 3/4 cup. I typically will either do a half a cup or a full cup. It just depends on what I'm pairing it with, and what my nutrient needs are for the day. I find it easier just to stick with a half a cup for all of my vegetables, or how much I've made. If I've made a ton of it, and I am only meal prepping for 4 days, I might use a whole cup, just because an allotment of vegetables is a cup a day. So make it work for you. So in respect to that, as I mentioned before, meal prepping needs to work for you. If it doesn't work for you, you're not going to stick with it. If it's not something that you like, you're not going to eat it, which means you're not going to make it again, and you're not going to stick with the meal prepping. You've got to find what works for you, and don't be afraid to have a cheat meal. As I mentioned before, the book even talks about having cheat meals down the road. If you're just starting out, it's definitely easier if you start slow and either add something to the meal plan that you've never had before, or cut something out that is not good for you. Don't cut everything out at once. Don't decide I'm going to stop drinking all soda, and I'm going to stop eating sugar, and I'm going to stop doing this, and I'm not going to do this, because then you're just going to ruin everything and you're not going to stick with it. You'll give it a week and it's not going to happen. So my best advice is, what worked for me is I did one thing at a time. I cut back on my coffee. That was probably the biggest thing in my caffeine in general. Before I started any of this, I was up to 3 cups of coffee and a can of soda. And then I cut back to 2 cups of coffee and a can of soda. And then I decided I was going to cut the soda out. And then from there, I kind of just managed how much coffee I was drinking, and finally I was down to 1 cup of coffee a day. And I have been doing 1 cup of coffee pretty consistently. I haven't had soda since the middle of July. I haven't had sweets at all since the same time that I cut out soda. So that means I haven't had a cupcake, I haven't had a cookie, I haven't had an ice cream bar, anything since July, other than the random things that I've made that are healthy, and they don't count because they're made with stevia, not sugar. They're not made with real chocolate, like the stuff that I just made, that doesn't count. But there's ways to adapt your lifestyle to fit what you're wanting to accomplish, and it's all about taking baby steps. One of the biggest things that I really struggled with, and I had to force myself to do, was to eat breakfast every day. Sorry, the camera just cut off. I was just talking about how it's as hard as it is to stop bad habits, starting new habits is equally as hard. I never was one to eat breakfast. It always made me nauseous, and it wasn't because I was eating breakfast. I found out it was because I was eating it at the wrong time, or I was eating the wrong thing. So I made myself sit down and eat breakfast every single day, and I kept track of that, and I did a little check mark every single day that I ate breakfast until I got to the 21-day mark, so that I could say that I made a new habit, because it takes 21 days to make a new habit. It takes 90 days to create a lifestyle. So keep that in mind. 21 days for a habit, 90 days for a lifestyle. And just, if you've got to keep track of that in some way. I'm a planner, so I have a planner and I keep track of things, and so I have habit trackers in my planner, and I check them off every single day. Did I do this? Did I take my vitamin? Did I eat my breakfast? And those are all things that I keep track of. When I was keeping track of my coffee consumption, I wrote down, 19 days, 1 cup of coffee, or 22 days without soda, whatever it took, so that I made sure that I was doing the right thing for me. And this is what worked for me, but it may not be what works for you. And then finally, my last thoughts on this is, if you need moral support, find a friend or find an online group of individuals that are interested in the same things that you're interested in. There are meetup groups out there, there are fitness groups, there are nutrition groups out there, and if you can't find one that is similar to what you're looking for, create one. So if you don't have the support you need, find the support you need. There's always somebody willing to answer questions, and if you need to, you can reach out to me. Again, my name is April, and this is Plugged and Crafty, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.